Good morning. We've got an update for you on the tropics, and you can see the list of names. Milton yesterday up to Category 5. It's sitting in a Cat 4, and it's actually weakened a little bit this morning. Leslie was a hurricane, now a tropical storm, and Kirk is no more. So let's take a look at what the latest is on Milton with the 8 a.m. update. A Category 4 hurricane, still a very powerful hurricane, but it has weakened a little bit since late last night. You take a look here, the maximum winds right now at 8 o'clock, 145 miles per hour with gusts to 190. Now, I will tell you, the pressure has actually come up a little bit. That central pressure has risen 5 millibars, so it is a slightly weaker system than it was. But make no mistake, this is still a very, very dangerous system located about 545 miles to the southwest of Tampa. It is going to make that turn, may become a Category 5 again later this morning. The forecast at landfall really hasn't changed much. It is forecast to be a Category 5 or 4 storm later today and then continue into early Wednesday. By late Wednesday and into Wednesday evening, it may encounter a little bit of shear, potentially weakening it just a bit, but we're still talking about a major hurricane at landfall around Tampa coming in late Wednesday evening and into early Thursday. You'll notice it tracks through central Florida, then exits out over the Space Coast, and as it comes out, it should be a Category 1 hurricane. Then, as it moves along, it's going to be kind of picked up by a frontal boundary and become a post-tropical system Friday into Saturday and Sunday. It moves farther away. The front that's going to pick this up is the buffer between the mid-Atlantic and, again, Milton, keeping Milton down to the south. Take a look at this system. This is a color-enhanced satellite image, and you can see that just recently we're starting to get the formation of the eye again. There was a very well-defined eye yesterday, and then it kind of collapsed as we went through the overnight, got real kind of dirty, and now there's been this kind of reformation cycle here, and we are getting a little eye that is developing once again. That should become clearer as the system moves along. But again, it's not quite as bad as it was earlier this morning and late last night when this thing was more powerful. Now, as we go towards Florida, again, folks here still need to be prepared to deal with this hurricane, and a major hurricane at that. Hurricane warnings now all across Central Florida. That includes Tampa and Orlando. You'll see Jacksonville under a tropical storm warning, kind of right on the edge of the hurricane warning, straddling that area up there. North of that, it's a tropical storm watch. You can see South Florida under tropical storm warning. But basically, most of Florida, with the exception being the Panhandle, under tropical storm and hurricane warnings. And again, this is going to be a really bad hit for Florida Wednesday night into Thursday. We'll talk some more about the impacts. First of all, the projected wind field. This is a product the Hurricane Center puts out, and you can see the area of wind expanding out from the center. Those tropical storm force winds in excess of 39 miles per hour, reaching the Florida Gulf Coast late Wednesday morning. So you can see around 11:15 or so, starting to feel those winds around Fort Myers, maybe up to Sarasota, some wind gusts there. As the afternoon wears on, we get into late afternoon, the stronger, more widespread tropical storm force winds in excess of 55 miles per hour, extending out from the center here, reaching the coast. So that's late afternoon Wednesday. Tropical storm force winds extending into much of Florida. Here are those hurricane force winds, and they make the landfall later Wednesday night and then early Thursday morning, probably around 1 o'clock or so, maybe just after. We expect that landfall with the center of the system to come ashore and cut across Florida. It'll weaken over land and come out as a Category 1, eventually a post-tropical system as it moves off. I want to go back for just a second and show you the storm surge alerts here. These are in place through Thursday, and you can see that includes Tampa and Tampa Bay down through Sarasota, all the way up through the Big Bend. When you think about the system spinning in a counterclockwise direction, you're going to get a strong southerly flow coming up ahead of this system. That's going to push water up into these areas. Then as the system gets closer, it's going to start cranking water towards all these barrier islands and pushing it up into the bay as well, with that central pressure falling as it comes in to this area. So as far as potential storm surge, we could see 12 feet or more in these areas highlighted in purple, and that is for Tampa, the Bay there, Sarasota, and areas just north and south down through Port Charlotte. Areas south of that up to about 12 feet or so, certainly between 9 and 12 feet of potential surge. This is going to be a big deal, and you talk about the inundation. We'll get to that in just a moment. Look at the potential on the backside, not nearly as much. The system will be pulling away, but it's a trapping back around. It may still push some water towards the coast. So communities around Jacksonville, down through Daytona Beach, as I mentioned, the Space Coast, they're all going to be seeing the water levels coming up quite a bit on the backside as the system pulls away. Now, this is a model the Hurricane Center uses to project the potential flooding and inundation with storm surge. You see these areas shaded in orange and kind of this tannish color. You're talking 6 to 9 feet or more in some places of potential flooding. So this is a serious situation potentially up for those vulnerable areas around Tampa. You can see Gibsonton down through Apollo Beach, Ruskin, some of the communities there, Feather Sound, back around St. Pete. It looks like much of St. Pete's going to be a little higher, but those areas right along the beaches, again, susceptible along with those outer barrier islands. That issue continues south. You take a look down towards Fort Myers, Cape Coral, some of these other communities, Punta Gorda, expected to deal with some of this as well. So we're going to be watching all of that, and it extends down, not to as much an extent, but all the way down through Marco Island, there could be some potential flooding. So you take a look, models very consistent, again, very much in agreement, somewhere here along the central Florida coast, Tampa right in the center of this path, maybe a little farther to the south or a little north, possible it could go either way, but somewhere close in this area, cutting across Florida and then exiting off to the east. Now, aside from Milton, we have a couple other areas we're watching. This is Leslie, now a tropical storm. So I'll go ahead and put these up. This is the remnant low of Kirk. It's nothing now. So as you can see, we have Leslie and we have Milton. Two other areas we're watching, just an area of low pressure, kind of along an old decaying frontal boundary, not associated with Milton. This is a separate area, 20% chance of development as it moves off to the east, maybe across the Bahamas, some more rain, but not really too worried about that. It's a rainmaker for South Florida right now. As it gets out over the water, it may develop a little bit more, but we'll continue to watch it. Again, not a concern to us here in the United States as that rain will move out. It'll be Milton that we're really worried about coming up late Wednesday. The other area out here around the Cabo Verde area, you can see again, some development, a 20% chance over the next week, but that thing is far away, and kind of thinking will be that it eventually picks up and goes to the north. So we deal with Milton. After that, we should be in good shape, at least for a little while. We will, of course, keep you updated. Here's the forecast track on Leslie, just to keep you updated on that. Again, a tropical storm with an eventual turn to the north. Continue to check back with 13 News Now. We'll have you covered on air and online, all of our digital platforms. A lot to watch going on in the tropics right now, and we've got you covered at 13 News Now.